Hey, what's up? Let's talk about King Kong Skull Island. It is a monstrosity of a movie. That's a pun, I guess. But it sucks. It's a fucking terrible movie. Piece of garbage. Got some Pepsi. I'm gonna drink it. Apparently, this is what my hair is doing today. It's not great. I can't be bothered to do anything about it. So let's roll onward. So I absolutely hated King Kong Skull Island. I guess it's just called Kong Skull Island. Thought it was a travesty of a film. Couldn't stand it. I was yawning the entire time I was watching it. Really contemplated walking out, but I don't typically walk out of movies. Usually stay to the end. It's a rare film that I can't watch the entire way through, and usually those are Tarantino movies because, spoiler alert, he's a fucking garbage director. I know a lot of people like Tarantino, but he's a terrible director, and all of his movies are terrible except for Reservoir Dogs. And if you like them, you're a terrible person. Sorry about that. You know, maybe you can work hard and become a better person and appreciate film in a more nuanced way. Maybe watch some of the movies Tarantino rips off for all of his movies and get an appreciation of those movies. He sucks! But let's get back to Kong Island and why it sucks. First of all, the pacing is terrible. It's really slow. It's really boring. It's a ton of walking around. There's way too many characters. None of them get enough. None of them have enough screen time. I don't even know if that's true. I was going to say none of them get enough screen time to get any character development, but they get a ton of screen time. There just isn't any character development because why have character development in a movie? That seems ancillary. We don't need that. We have a CGI gorilla. Character development. How quaint. Films of the past. Enjoy our giant gorilla. Ton of characters. None of them get any development. Tom Hiddleston, other than John C. Reilly's the best character in the movie, he gets the most development. But that has its own slew of problems because it just highlights the fact that the story they start the movie with is more interesting than the one they decided to film. John C. Reilly plays a World War II, I guess he must be an Air Force pilot. He crash lands on Skull Island at the same time as a Japanese pilot lands there as well. They're adversaries, obviously. It's World War II, so they try to kill each other. Ultimately, Kong intervenes, and they're shocked at the existence of Kong. And then the movie flashes forward to the 70s, and we don't get to see what happens with that story until John C. Reilly's character is reintroduced. But that's a more interesting story that at the enemy mine type situation. Of two stranded enemies that basically the only thing they have is each other, so they grow an attachment and a bond. Much more interesting setup for a King Kong movie than what we actually got, which was some scientists wanted to prove that King Kong was real because I think John Goodman's character had been a naval officer and his boat was attacked by a monster. Not King Kong. I guess maybe we're supposed to think Godzilla. They don't spend any time about it. It's like a throwaway line in the movie. He wants to vindicate himself because he believes monsters exist and they want to shut down his alphabet soup agency that he works for. And so they'll go to Skull Island because they want to get there before the Russians, because the Russians exist. You know. It's stupid. It's a stupid movie. Vietnam's over, so Samuel Jackson's character wants something to do, so they recruit him. How old? And Samuel Jackson must be in his 80s, so, but he looks exactly the same as he's always looked. So I guess we just believe that he's like a soldier going about his business. But yeah, terrible. And there's so many of these characters, these scientist characters and the soldier characters. They show up on the island with like. Has to be 8 helicopters full of people. A lot of them die right at the beginning. Kong kills them all. Don't really care about that. But there's still a ton left over afterwards that the audience has to suffer through their existence while they walk from point A to point B and deliver trite exposition that doesn't matter. There's a ton of walking from point A to point B, and then Tom Hiddleston's character and Brie Larson standing around. Look at this CGI vista. Isn't that great? Why? Why don't you know how to make a movie? Oh! A lot of people seem to like it online, though, so I don't know what that's about. And it's not like... If this was some just great CGI that was head and shoulders above what everyone else is doing, and they wanted to showcase it a little bit, just to be like, hey guys, this is what we're bringing to the table, check it out. I mean, on some level you could understand that, but that's not what we have here. It's really typical. I don't know how much... I have trouble separating King Kong, how he looks just from a graphical fidelity, from the way he moves. In the previous King Kong movie, Andy Serkis was doing the motion cap, so, he's a legend. He does his job. He's the best in the business. You get that King Kong, he moves like a gorilla. He feels like a gorilla. He has the gait of a gorilla. This movie just seems like a dude. I don't even, if they had motion cap at all, I don't know. It just seems like a guy walking around on two legs the whole time. It doesn't give off the vibe of an ape or a gorilla at all. I found that off-putting. Maybe it's not a big deal to other people. I'm trying to think. He smashes his chest a couple times. Gorillas do that. You know gorillas. Hated this movie. So boring. Another problem I had with the movie is the soundtrack is super obnoxious. It seems like a ton of people watch Guardians of the Galaxy and they just thought, I think this movie is good because it has a lot of licensed music in it. Let's throw as many licensed songs in the movie as we possibly can with no reason for it. Lo and behold, Suicide Squad. Lo and behold, Kong Skull Island. I get it. The movie's set in the 70s. Doesn't mean you have to play CCR every 3 minutes. Super obnoxious. And it really only highlights, the cinematography is really reminiscent of the era they're trying, the Vietnam imagery. Even though they're not in Vietnam, they're in Skull Island. But the music and the imagery and the cinematography does a really good job of conjuring up those memories, those vibes of the 70s and movies like Platoon and Apocalypse Now. But then it goes to the score of the movie, which is completely contemporary. So the movie's fighting with each other, fighting with itself, more to say, and it's really off-putting. I found it super off-putting, and I was already pissed off every time a licensed song came on. Just drove me crazy. We get it, guys. It's the 70s. I remember that the first 12 times you played that song. Cut it out. Ugh. Terrible. So, like I said, none of the characters get any character development. Tom Hiddleston, other than John C. Reilly, I guess he gets the most character development in that there's a one line in the movie where he's like, my dad went to war and he never came home. And then I went to war and I also didn't come home. And then I guess Brie Larson, I guess they're supposed to be romantic leads. They have no chemistry. They're barely characters at all. Really awful, especially since they're good actors. We know what they can do if you give them something to do. It seems to me, honestly, like this is a movie they didn't have a finished script for, and they were like, fuck it, we have a window we have to get this movie done by. We're just gonna film it, and hopefully we come up with something that works. Because it's really what it feels like to, because the dialogue is terrible. The character interactions are all terrible. And there's a ton of moments where characters are just standing around doing nothing. Really awful. Samuel Jackson's character, I guess he's the villain of the film. I was going to say I liked him, but I didn't like him. I didn't like anything about this movie. I don't think he's the villain. He wants to kill King Kong because King Kong killed a bunch of his soldiers. Fair play. King Kong probably should kill King Kong. What's the reason for keeping him around? He protects them from those other monsters. Well, Samuel Jackson also wants to kill those monsters, so just kill all the monsters. I don't care. They're stupid. There's some really laughable scenes in this movie as well. There's a moment where Tom Hiddleston has a gas mask on and he's in the boneyard. with a samurai sword fighting pterodactyls. Laughed out loud in the movie theater when that scene happened. Ooh, bad. Too much. There's so much happening, but nothing happens. There's basically the characters, they're split up, and they're like, oh, we're started here, but we have to get over there. So let's walk over there. And then they're like, well, now that we're here, we need a boat so we can go there. And then the other characters, they're off by themselves. Like, we're going from point A to point B as well. And then, oh, now that we're at point B, our radios work. So we should meet you at point C? And they're like, yeah, meet us at point C. So they go to point C, and then the guy's like, well, I heard there's another guy, and he's over at point D, so we should go over there. And they're like, okay, well, we should go to point D. But remember, ultimately, we have to get to point D, or point E. It's on the other end of the island. How are we going to get there? This is the movie. If you thought you were interested in seeing the movie, this is the movie. I'm describing it perfectly. I swear to God. It's awful. How is it so bad? I don't understand. and granted that there's already so many characters, and then they find the tribe of indigenous people on the island. They're also fucking useless. There's no reason. They literally don't speak. They do this. Do we need these characters at all? The story reason they exist is so that apparently off screen sometime in the past, they explained to John C. Reilly what was happening so he can spout exposition to these new dull as dirt characters that are on the island. But, they find the graveyard of Kong's parents in the boneyard. I guess the lizard monsters are kind of like owls. So they just puke up bones and shit. Like, piece it together. Put two and two together. The lizards drop all their bones here. King Kong's parents or ancestors are here. We figured it out. These monsters kill King Kong type monsters, and he doesn't like them, so he kills them as well. And we are going to help King Kong because right now we don't like these other monsters. The movie, the more I talk about it, the angrier I'm getting because this movie is so stupid. It was complete trash. I don't know how you walk out of this movie and you think, that was a good movie. Even if your argument was like, it's a fun popcorn movie. Turn your brain off and just enjoy a fun popcorn movie. It's not a fun popcorn movie. There's so much of this movie is nothing happening. It's characters walking around and then they're delivering trite exposition about shit that doesn't matter. I want to rip my face off and eat it. That's how frustrated I am at this movie. It's so bad. I guess I didn't stay for the after credit scene because you couldn't fucking pay me to be interested in a King Kong versus Godzilla movie, but that's apparently what the post credit scene sets up is King Kong and Godzilla. They're gonna fight in a monster universe. Oh, and I honestly I have no memory of Godzilla. Like I saw it twice at least. I think. Maybe more. I think I saw it twice in the movie theater alone, and I'm sure I've seen it since then. I remember absolutely nothing about that Godzilla movie. That's how memorable it is. And I don't know if that makes it worse than this movie. I think I'm going to remember King Kong because it's fucking terrible. I think Godzilla was just like medium. So medium in every possible way that it left no lasting impression. But King Kong is awful. Completely awful. Don't see it. If you make the mistake of seeing it, walk out halfway through and try to sneak into Logan. Because this movie will melt your brain. It's so bad. Even if you don't want to see Logan, sneak into something else. Demand your money back. This movie's fucking terrible. Please don't give them money. Don't encourage them. Don't encourage these filmmakers to make terrible movies like this. Please, you're our only hope. Peace.